Hi, I'm Carrie.
And I'm Molly.
And you're listening to the
Two
Two
Sisters
Sisters
on
on Adventures
Adventures
podcast. So, when you last heard from us, we had been going to bed, ready to fall asleep in the amazing town of Tahoe City in America's best value inn, which is not a misnomer. And,
Actually,
well, yeah, it's not a misnomer. And we had just tried to fix our tent rainfly by brushing the teeth of the zipper to try and clean them out so that we could get it to zip. Because if you recall, our tent was not zipping properly. And we thought it worked, but it actually didn't. And so it was like, 11:30, and we said, okay, we just have to go ahead and go to bed because we're kind of at the point where this is really not working very well, and I don't know, I just needed to go to bed. We've been going to bed at like 8 p.m. every day, so when you stay up till 11:30, all of a sudden you're just like traumatized.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the one saving grace was that the bed was just so comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We had stayed at a different hotel as we road tripped out to California.
Actually, there were 2 beds in this room, so that was really nice.
Oh yeah, we didn't have to share a bed.
Yeah.
But when we road tripped out, I remember the bed that we slept in. It was just like so hard and like I don't know. The mattress at Best Value Inn though, it was America's best value.
And you know what? I slept really well, although I think those kids were in the hallway for a portion of the night because there was a lot of people talking and there were people like fighting. But not like really bad like I've had on other vacations.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a great sleep. And in the morning, I was just like, oh, I can't even believe how well I slept.
Yeah.
I can't believe the comfort that is found in a bed. Am I a hotel girl now?
I think that's called a vacation.
Yeah, I think it is.
So that was like the saving grace where it was really discouraging the night before where we couldn't actually fix our zipper. And then
at least we had like a solid rest.
We were going through kind of the different things that the NEMA website had said. So like step 1 was using the toothbrush to try to clean the zipper. And before that, probably step 0 would be every season when you're finished with your backpacking,
just clean
wash your tent. And I think we did half of that. We always would like hang our tent out to dry and make sure that everything was put away, as good as we could, but we'd never actually put our tent in the bathtub and washed it. So that would be step 0. Step 1 would be using the toothbrush, which hadn't worked for us. Step 2 was using a pliers to actually try to retighten the part of the zipper that pulls the pieces together. So we woke up, I don't remember. We slept in a little bit.
Yeah, we did. And then, you know what? We weren't planning to leave super early in the morning. We were going to just try to do about 9 miles that day. There was this spot I'd seen on Far Out that seemed like it would be a good campsite. There would be water, so it wouldn't be a big water carry, and we wouldn't have to commit to leaving super early in the day because it seemed like the rain showers were going to continue in the morning. But when we woke up, though, it wasn't raining, and I remember being kind of annoyed because I thought if it's not raining now, that probably means it hasn't rained, and all the rain's going to come in the afternoon.
Exactly, and we'd been watching the forecast as well, and so this was a Saturday, and Saturday night it showed that there was the potential for some snow to be around, I think, like 7,800 feet or so. So we had to go under Twin Peaks. We were going to do that the following day, Sunday, and that was going to be like 8,000 feet of elevation. So we didn't really want to end up in a snowy area. So that's why we figured we couldn't keep pushing and we'd have to kind of cap ourselves at 9 miles for the day just so we weren't in really a lot of high elevation area because of the weather. So like Carrie had said, it wasn't raining when we woke up, and I don't remember what you were doing, Carrie, but I decided, okay, I will go out and find us some pliers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, you don't know what I was doing? I was cataloging all the food we had in our bear cans so that we would know what we need to buy at the store. I was just laying around. But she did come back with the pliers, and she also came back with didn't you brought us coffee from the hotel little area?
Well, I'll tell my journey. So when I walked outside, I noticed that the cars were actually wet and there were some puddles in the road. So it had rained at some point that night, although we were sleeping so well in our comfy beds we didn't hear it. Nope. Or the sound of all of the teenagers in the hallway overshadowed the rain sound, one or the other. Yeah. So I was walking, to the Ace Hardware, and I walked by this sporting goods store called Alpenglow, and it wasn't open yet, and I had been looking at different spots that you could buy shoes in Tahoe City, and I saw that it opened in like an hour, so I figured we should go there when it opened to see if we could get Carrie some different shoes. And then I made it to Ace, and of course like the cheapest pliers you could get
Yeah.
were like $12. So I got my pliers, and then I also found some. We like the Albanese fruit snacks.
Oh,
or
okay.
gummy bears.
Those are the best ones you can like possibly get. They have the best sour gummy worms, the best sour gummy bears, the best gummy bears,
Honestly, and
the
I
best
found
gummy worms.
it was gummy butterflies.
they're so
I
cute.
thought, so I bought a couple bags
They're
of gummy
amazing.
butterflies, and they
Yeah.
are very tasty.
Mhm.
And it's funny because the guy at Ace Hardware, I guess just from my general, I don't even know, the look and what I was purchasing, he was like, good luck out there. Like, he knew I
Yeah.
was doing the trail. So I said, thank you. And then on my way back into the hotel room, I got us some coffee and some like pastries or whatever from the hotel. And then
Pretty sweet.
here I showed up. I thought Carrie was just lazing around.
Also,
but I
we-
guess she was cataloging food.
Do you remember? So we also bought a gallon of water the night before at Save Market
Yes.
when we got our toothbrush. And I thought, oh, how annoying we're spending money on this gallon of water, which I know you can drink from the hotel sink, but it was just, you never know how that's going to taste, and you may as well just enjoy yourself. And we had almost drank that entire gallon of water by that time.
Yeah, we were actually really proud of ourselves because we
Really
were really
rehydrating.
good at our hydration. And then we both got a Gatorade as well the night before. And I downed my entire Gatorade, and Carrie had 2 sips.
Yeah.
And I said, Carrie, like it's important.
And I didn't want to complain because Molly had bought it for me, and I knew she'd be like, I bought you that Gatorade, and I spent money, and you're not grateful.
So I said, if you're not going to drink it, I guess I will.
But honestly, it tasted, so the reason I wasn't drinking it was because it tasted like dirty socks to me. And I thought it was maybe just a personal problem. I was like, oh no, am I getting sick or something?
And Carrie was like, the Gatorade tastes weird. And I had a sip of it, and it tasted so
It's
strange.
honestly like disgusting.
I-
I don't know what was wrong with
Yeah,
it. It had
it
a
was-
dent. It was dented. I don't know
Yeah.
if something had gotten into it, but it definitely, it was not glacial cherry. It was more like glacial dirty sock
Honestly.
that has been preserved in the glacier perfectly.
Honestly,
So
yeah.
the flavor, oh my gosh. It's like the water was dripping off the glacier from the glacial sock. That
Oh,
should be one of their new
What?
flavors.
What is a glacial sock?
It's a sock that fell from a climber's pack into a glacier, preserved in the crevasse, and now the glacier is melting because it's warmer. And then when it melts, the other glacial water tastes delicious. Maybe there's a glacial cherry in the. And then one of the flavors is the glacial sock. You're just like, so you'd be the one filling your water at the table. You'd be like, this glacial water is so good. And I'd be filling it probably from the sock outlet. And I wouldn't know. And I'd be like, this tastes so bad. And then you'd criticize
And
me.
I did feel sensitive that you hadn't drank the
I knew
Gatorade
you
I bought for
did.
you until I tried
I
it.
knew you did.
And then I said, yeah, this is bad.
I felt sensitive that I couldn't drink it because I wanted the electrolytes, but I just really couldn't understand why it tasted so bad.
Gosh.
Oh, man.
So
What are you
I
talking
brought
about?
the pliers, and then it's so funny because the pliers are they're like a cardboard backing, and we didn't have anything that we could use to get it out of it. So I'm pretty sure that we used the pliers in the cardboard, right? Yeah, so it was just like holding the pliers,
Yeah.
and then they still had the cardboard on them, so we
Yeah.
had to like peel it back. It's very ridiculous.
It didn't work great.
And so we started with, I think, Carrie's side, didn't we?
Yeah, and
And
it worked unbelievably well to just
Yeah.
pinch it down gently, and just tighten. Not even tighten it. I think it just grips the teeth better so that it can, put them together more
I don't know.
betterly.
Something like that. And so it worked so good. And so we're starting to feel hopeful.
Yeah, I'm like,
Okay,
"Oh,
this
our
is
prayers have been
happening.
answered."
This is good. And then we go to my side, the side that's been an issue for a year now.
Yeah.
And
You apply some gentle
apply
pressure.
gentle pressure, and we
It
zipped
did
through,
absolutely nothing.
Did nothing. And
You were like, I'll just go back and tighten it some more. And I thought to myself, I don't know how this is going to go.
yeah.
And she did tighten it on one side.
To
and
the
then
point
when,
of breaking.
And when you did it on the other side, it just was like, bing,
Yeah,
it just
so-
split apart.
And they do say that on the website.
Yeah.
If you tighten it
Too
too firmly, then you can
Mhm.
break the zipper. But I really think we had tightened it gently and it didn't work. So I don't really think that our fix would have been the solution. So now we had a tent that the zipper was completely broken off. And now it's just free floating.
Yeah.
So,
like, not even a zipper.
yep. So that was discouraging. And fortunately, right around that time, Alpenglow Sports was open.
Yep.
So we decided that our next foray into
'cause
Tahoe
we
City
thought,
would be...
oh, we could go to Save Mart, but then what's the point if you go to Save Mart and then you can't actually even go out in the wilderness? 'Cause
Exactly.
You don't have a tent.
And at this point, I think, gosh, I don't know. I think I had called Alpenglow to just make sure they were open. They said they were. And I don't remember if it was the conversation on the phone or later, but basically we knew we could either try to repair our tent in Tahoe City, or we'd have to look to get an Uber and actually go to Truckee or something like that. And so basically we were going to get our tent fixed, or we were going to get off the trail.
Yeah.
So we headed to Alpenglow, basically our Hail Mary to see if we're going to get to stay
I've
on
definitely
trail.
never had such a high pressure visit to a sporting goods store.
We walked down there. It was maybe a 1-minute walk from our hotel. And we get in there, and I guess we brought our rain fly with us.
Yeah, we brought
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel also like a criminal when I go into a store and I'm already holding a product. I'm like, please don't think we stole this, as it's like broken. Anyway.
But kind of. And so we with the shoes thing, it just seemed like when Carrie was walking in the Hokas, especially on the trail, that, I don't know, it seemed like maybe it was angled and like, more of a V shape from mountain bike use. It just seemed like she was getting a lot of ankle like pronation on the right side, and I was like,
She's a PT.
Maybe the like really thick bottom like soles of the shoes is just not good for you this time, Carrie. And that's why I thought the Ultras might be better, just because it's a 0 drop, a little bit lower profile shoe. So we figured also a Hail Mary, because, well, I thought that I was going to wake up that morning and Carrie was going to say, my ankle hurts so bad, I can't do this anymore. It's super swollen and we're done. That's what I expected to do. Instead, when I woke up, I was like, what do you think, Carrie?
I was like, what do you mean? What do you think? We need to go get some pliers. Like, it's just, I don't know. I guess she forgot about the tenacity of me.
Exactly. So
Also, I really wanted to see the Desolations.
yes. So we went in there. We asked if they had Ultras. So Carrie went with one salesman to see if they could kind of figure out shoes that
one
fit
pair
her.
of Ultras in my general size. I guess I had one pair of women's Ultra and then one pair of men's. And I guess I don't have to tell this story. Now that, have you ever been shoe shopping? They said that the ones that I liked that fit me were slightly too small for me, and the ones that were a half a size bigger were perfect for me, but I was like, they're way too big for me. And then I had to be over there agonizing for a long time while Molly did stuff with
That's
the rain
basically
fly.
every time I go shoe shopping.
I know. I'm like, this is not a new story probably for anyone. And then I bought the one that I wanted,
but what
and
you
not
said
the one they recommended.
with the wider toe box is that even though they said the shoe was maybe small for you, you still felt like it had
so much more space than the Hokas. My toes weren't touching each other, which I think that maybe they've narrowed the Hokas, or I've just gotten wider feet because I've been walking a lot. Thank you. No shame. No shame on this podcast.
I had Carrie wear some toe spreaders this winter, so
gosh.
she will also...
I did actually blame it all on her.
was mad at me for maybe her toes not being quite so, and then that maybe caused them to feel blistered.
Ever since I wore the toe spreaders, the Hokas never fit me right again.
They
so
didn't fit you
whose
before that
fault
too,
is
though.
it? No, but they didn't hurt so bad. Anyways,
so Carrie did.
So
their
I'm
shoe
like
thing.
agonizing with my shoe stuff, and then Molly.
And I started a conversation with another person to see about the tent. So
well, actually, first the guy looked at it and he was like, "Nope, can't fix that.
Yeah.
And you also can't rent a tent from us." And
so,
I was like,
no. So I had him look at it, and he looks at the zipper and how it's broken, and he's like, "Yeah, well, we're not a gear repair shop, so I don't really think we can do anything for you." And then that's when he was like, "I guess you could go to Truckee where there's a gear repair shop, and then maybe they can do something." And I'm just like, I don't feel like I want to have to run around and like be waiting for days. So fortunately, this other gal was walking by as well, and he said, "Hey, do you mind taking a look at this tent?" And Carrie and I think that she was a climber. And
I was like, this girl's 100% a climber, because she saw a challenge, she saw a problem, and she immediately was like, so pumped to solve it.
Exactly.
She wasn't, she wasn't just gonna be like, well, can't really do much for you. She's like, oh yeah, we can fix this. And she even said that if we hadn't broken off the zipper, she thought that she really believed she could have gotten it to work again. And I was like, too bad we did that first.
I know. She said, if the zipper wasn't broken off, I could have rethreaded it for you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, no.
And she was going through all these scenarios. She thought that we could sew it shut, but I really didn't want to do that because I don't want to
and she didn't want that to happen to us.
No, but that was one option.
And then she like put the zipper together and then folded it. And she started to be like, oh, you know what? I think if we had maybe some paper clips, we could just fold the zipper together and then paper clip it. So she grabbed all these paper clips out of a drawer and something called a binder clip. I just learned what it was called today.
But I've known what it was my whole life, though. You've seen those before,
Oh, totally.
right? Yeah.
I thought they were called paperweights.
I just thought they were called, honestly, as a kid, I thought it was a straight up toy. That you just like click, 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 click.
They're black, and then you can like fold them out, and then it clips paper together.
Around,
It's called the binder clip. Yeah. So she grabbed a couple.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
She grabbed a couple of those, and then we worked together, and we were actually able to use a series of paper clips and binder clips to actually fold the tent together so that the rain fly was not open. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, we were like, I think this is going to work. And I was like, thank you so much. This is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then the very end of the tent, there was like on the other side of the tent where there still was a zipper, it had gone into the vent, the grate of the vent in the store.
Wait, what?
And got
I
stuck.
didn't know about that.
Yeah. So one half of the tent was on the counter, the other half of the tent was on the floor, and the very end of the tent where there was zipper was stuck in the vent. And so I was trying to play cool, and I was like, thanks so much for your help. And I like bend over to pick up the tent, and it's stuck in the vent, and I'm like jiggling it, and I spend like a minute jiggling, and then I'm like, excuse me, the tent is stuck in your heat vent. Do you think you can help me? And so she had to take the vent out of the floor and then turn it sideways, and it still took me like 30 seconds of like jiggling with it to get the zipper unstuck. But I was like, oh gosh, now our tent is gonna be stuck in Alpenglow forever.
So funny.
And then she even got like a little Ziploc bag, and she was thinking through, because she was like, well, you could also use clothespins, but paper clips are much lighter weight. So she got like the Ziploc bag for us, and then gave us all these paper clips from their store.
Because she said, remember, you were like, I can just buy them from the store. And she was like, they're not going to have those in stock here.
Yeah, she's like, Save Mart, they're phasing out all their office supplies, so they're not going to have anything for you here. So we got like 20 paper clips and 2 binder clips, and honestly, I need to write a Google review for Alpenglow.
I know,
still.
Yeah. And
we were
America's Best
impressed.
Value In, actually.
Yeah, really. We're going to go do that after we're done with this. But no, it was really great, because all of a sudden, you know, we were at this point where we didn't really know if we were going to get back on trail or make it work. And we went there, and it was like the successful hiker's emporium. Let's give us what you need to actually get on the trail and be successful.
Yeah. Oh, and we bought some KT tape too, right?
Yeah, I just figured let's just do anything we can for Carrie's ankle. So we got some KT tape, some ultras, and then
I felt like,
a bunch of paper clips.
They're so disappointed in me for buying the size they didn't recommend.
What? That's so funny.
But I wanted them. So.
Yeah. So that was our trip to Alpenglow, and really it kind of saved our trip at that point.
So then we went back to the hotel and dropped off our stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to wear the ultras around town, because I may as well just see how they're working and try to get used to them.
Yeah.
And then we went to Save Mart. We got our resupply, but it was kind of funny because it is true they were phasing out a lot of their summer stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so we were running out of hand sanitizer, which we'd been planning anyway, I believe, to just buy hand sanitizer in town. Yeah. But we couldn't find a hand sanitizing wipe. We couldn't find a hand sanitizing spray. We couldn't find a hand sanitizing gel. And so I was kind of starting to think like, oh, this is going to get really pretty dicey, because we are on our last leg. We had like one wipe, like one hand sanitizing wipe, and that's just not good enough for me personally.
And I think we were at around 60 miles. So we had, the entire trail, we had about 109 miles left. Yeah. So we're like, well, I don't think one sanitizing wipe will do anything for us there. I mean,
it'd have to be doing the Lord's work.
So I honestly, a modern day miracle. Yeah, I asked an employee if she could help us find the sanitizer, and she told me like to look on this certain aisle, and it wasn't there. And so I think when we were checking out, she asked, like, hey, did you find the hand sanitizer? And I said, no, there wasn't any. And she's like, well, we can't have that. There's COVID going around. There's the flu. There's all these illnesses.
There's strep throat.
Which I'm like...
Which then you were like, what if I have a strep throat?
I was like, oh, no. And so she actually just, like, grabbed some of the hand sanitizer that they had for employees, like, by the check stand. And then
gave it.
She gave it to us.
She just like poured some off and gave it to us. And
yeah.
that was so nice. We bought these 2 little like reusable containers for travel, and we filled those up with the hand sanitizer, and then we were good to go.
And so it was funny because the hand sanitizer was a spray sanitizer. And so when we put it in the little bottles, it was so liquidy. You'd like squeeze it and it would explode everywhere.
So much
but
hand
it was
sanitizer.
sanitizing. So it worked. And we just thought about how our time in Tahoe City, we had many different interactions with people who were working there.
Yeah.
So I would call them locals probably. Yeah. And our interactions were so nice. And
Always
these people were
positive.
so kind.
Yeah.
They were so helpful.
Yeah.
And it was a good reminder for me why on longer hikes and through hikes, I love to have a half zero day or just a day where I'm in town, because you get so many cool experiences and so many positive interactions that it's actually a real boost, and it's kind of a nice way to have the best of both worlds, enjoying nature and then enjoying
and they were all like
the
so
kindness
happy for
of
you
people.
too to be out there. They were just happy. Yeah, they were so nice, all the people we met in Tahoe City. So then we headed back to the hotel.
And
something else?
well, the funny thing is just we had all these bags of stuff we'd purchased, and Carrie and I, we had purchased and made all of our backpacking meals in advance and then carried them from the beginning. So our resupply was mainly lunches, snack bars, and then, Pop-Tarts and kind of stuff like that. But we had all of our main meals. I think we had to get some breakfasts. Yeah. But then it was kind of funny because we had quite a bit of food and supplies. And then I think we were just totally loaded down, like carrying like
and we
bags in our arms,
water,
and we had maybe 2 gallons of water. So we were really loaded down when we made our maybe 3/10 of a mile trek back to America's Best Value Inn.
So we get back to the inn, and I started repacking the beer cans. Molly started repacking, we'd worn our sleeping clothes the night before, so I think you started just getting everything organized to go back in our backpack, throwing away any trash that we had.
I went down and asked for a late checkout because we realized we weren't going to leave at 11, and they were super cool and gave us a late checkout.
Yeah. Yep. We just listened to the live stream of church and all that kind of stuff, so that was nice to kind of get a little bit uplifting. And then we looked around and we had all our gear together, and we said, well, I think it's time to go. So we were headed out of town, but we had one more stop to make, and that was Front Street Pizza. We decided, why would we eat a tuna for lunch? Why would we eat a trail pizza? We're in town. So we decided to stop there. And of course, as we walked there, it started to rain.
Yes.
So that was like, oh man. But also, I was in just a pretty good mood because I was clean. I'd had good food. I'd had good rest. I have new shoes, although I'm also carrying my Hokas because we didn't know if those were going to work for sure.
We thought about ditching the Hokas and Carrie just committing fully to the ultras. And then we're like, well, that would be sad if then they weren't working well. So we each put a Hoka on our pack.
Yep. So for the remainder of the trip, we've got a Hoka on the pack, a Hoka on the pack. So then we went to Front Street Pizza and we got tacos, which they have amazing
Super
tacos.
Tasty. The steak tacos were really good.
And again, everyone's so nice. We visited with one of the locals that was having lunch there, and he actually recognized Molly because he'd helped you at Ace Hardware.
Yeah, he was the guy who I'd purchased the pliers from.
And it was kind of fun because he actually we hadn't seen the guy that we'd met in the store the night before at all that day in town, so we didn't know if he'd gone back out, how far ahead of he was. But when the Ace Hardware guy was visiting with us, he mentioned that he had come in earlier, right before you, to look for something that he needed for his tent. So we were like, oh, well, he can only be a little bit ahead of us, or maybe not even, so we might actually get to see him again.
Yeah, and it was also cool because the Ace Hardware dude, he was telling us about all his backpacking that he loved to do, and we talked about backpacking in Europe, and I don't know, it was just really fun to visit with him, and I was like, wow, okay, it's a small town feel.
Yeah, it was super fun. So then we said, okay, time to get out on the trail, and the first little bit of the trail was paved, so we were like, are we going the wrong way? Because I was on a bike path the other day.
Yeah, like an actual
true bike path.
Yeah.
And then, it actually had felt pretty good that day. I thought the elevation, the grading of it was good, and the trail was really soft and pretty comfortable. And, even though it was raining, I feel like there was enough to talk about from town that had just happened that we were just in good moods, and we were thankful, and we were happy to be out there, and our tent was fixed, and we were only going 9 miles.
And really the tree cover, it was sprinkling lightly, and the tree cover, it gave us pretty good coverage too. So we didn't ever really get wet, even though we chose to wear our raincoats. Yeah. But it was interesting because there were actually some fairly large puddles on the trail as we were walking. Mm-hmm. And as we continued on, we got to this one stretch, and there was a mountain biker coming towards us. And he stopped to visit it a little bit, and he actually kind of wanted to hear about our experience. And then he asked us about what
If
we
we'd
did
stayed
the
out
night
last
before.
night, yeah.
We said, no, we got a hotel. And he just was like, oh,
Yeah.
I am so happy for you.
Yeah.
He was describing to us, apparently he had this cabin and his daughter was visiting and some friends. And he said that it was just like a massive downpour the night before. He said that it was so loud that they could hardly hear each other talk.
Yeah.
And he just lit up and
he was
so happy for
It
us.
was interesting because he said that you never see puddles that big that late in the year ever, basically.
Yeah.
And they weren't there, he said, the day before. So everything was just from the night before. So it was nice because then it felt validating instead of annoying, kind of like, oh, now we're getting the rain of the day. And so we were just getting a little bit of an extra sprinkle. Go ahead.
I think I just always end up feeling encouraged anytime I spend a little time in town or on a resupply.
Apparently.
And I think we just both felt like we could see God's graciousness and even those little things, like having that kind of affirmation, like, wow, it was like amazing that you guys, out of all the nights that you could have been in town, that was the one you were in town. And I think that just gave us some more encouragement as we continued on.
So then we also wore our rain pants for the first time. We tested those bad boys out. They were pretty nice.
And kind of before we had gotten to that point, we actually walked by, there's a couple aspen groves along Lake Tahoe. And once again, like Carrie had mentioned, she wanted to see fall colors for her birthday. And we had we're always trying to get into the North Cascades of Washington in the fall. And we still haven't done a true fall hike there. Yeah. And we, again, were thinking about doing that this year, and then they got a lot of the snow, and then the forecast up there was snow and just not good weather. So we shifted things to Tahoe, and we said, well, there are aspens on the trail. Yeah. And so we finally found one of the aspen groves. So it was pretty cool, and it was the quaking aspen, so you get the nice sound that the leaves make and everything. And then, it was some really misty, kind of rainy day. Yeah. And so then at one point we decided, like, we should probably just put on our rain pants, because why get our legs and shorts wet like we normally do when we can wear rain pants?
Yeah.
And it is dry. Like Carrie said.
Yeah, I loved it. It was
very nice. So
super comfortable.
That was our new outfit for the next like 36 hours.
Yeah. And so then we just, headed up to camp, basically.
At one point, as we were walking, there was several miles of, it was more like an old forest road, it seemed. It was pretty wide. And there were like a lot of people going for afternoon strolls.
We saw quite a few people that day, which was nice.
Really nice. And there was this one gal, and she was just like, just so you know, I have a Rottweiler. And we're like, oh, okay. She's like, and he's just running in the forest right now, and he's very friendly. So if he approaches you, don't be afraid. And we were like, oh, okay, cool.
Like, that's a good warning, because if a Rottweiler, actually really any dog, that if I just don't see an owner around and it comes up to me in the forest, I'm kind of like, what is going on,
And the funny thing, she was calling for the dog, and then we must have walked a quarter of a mile past where we met her, and we see this dog like running in circles around a tree stump. There was probably a squirrel or something, and we thought,
like, that dog is definitely not
that
gonna hear
woman
you.
And the dog can be reunited at some point. It was just a funny moment.
Yeah, it definitely had better things on its mind than coming to its owner.
Exactly.
But anyway, I feel like the rest of the day was pretty uneventful. We just kind of visited. I think one time we were going downhill, saw a biker going uphill, and he was like, oh, this is terrible. And I was like, oh yeah, again, the Tahoe Rim Trail has its own set of challenges for everyone. But we made it to our campsite, and we were able to find a spot that actually had a dry patch kind of by the tree. So we set up our tent in that.
And then we had to get into problem solving mode, because now we have one side of our tent where at this moment in time, the zipper does work, but it felt like every time we unzipped it, what if it wouldn't zip again? And then another side that has no zipper and is a series of paper clips and binder clips. So we try to pitch our tent so that obviously it works with whatever the slope of the ground is, with the exception of when the bowls.
Very first time.
Which you can
refer
look
to
at
the first episode
of our podcast. But from then on out, generally we pitched it so that our heads were elevated. In this situation, though, I said maybe we need to put the dysfunctional zipper more underneath the tree so that when it probably rains tonight, we have less water going on the tent. So we did have to pitch it in in inverted fashion.
Yep. So we pitched our tent, and it actually was working really well.
Yeah.
And then it was wet and it was cold, so it was kind of funny because we like crawled inside the tent to start taking care of stuff, and then for whatever reason we spent I think like an hour just like curled up. Oh, we're cold.
And
we're like laying on the floor of the tent.
This is the only day on the trail that we had stopped to make camp before 5 p.m. And it's funny how when you do that, you dilly-dally so aggressively. Mm-hmm. So yes, it took us time to to put up our tent because we had to paper clip it. And then we just got in the tent. And we didn't even do our sleeping pads to insulate
us. For a long time.
We just laid in there.
We were just like freezing. We were so cold. And then I said, like maybe we should actually insulate ourselves from the ground. So we did put our sleeping pad, blow up our sleeping pads and all that stuff, but it was just funny. We were just not being very timely at all that day.
No.
And then we finally, we were like, oh, it's raining. We don't want to get out of our tent because, it's kind of a bummer to think, okay, I'm going to get out, get rained on, make dinner, be rained on, dig my cat hole, be rained on. And we finally were like, okay, we have to suck it up and do it because it's not really getting any earlier or any warmer.
Or any lighter.
Yeah. And so we finally did get out of the tent. I feel like it was really a light rain, basically a mist.
Yeah, it was not bad. But all around us, so where we had stopped, there was, a pretty decent amount of vertical gain coming up on the trail. So it was kind of like cliffs around us, and everything was pretty socked in. Like maybe you could see 100 or 200 feet up, and then it was clouds. Mm-hmm. So it was funny because it reminded us of another time that we had stopped earlier in the day.
Other times.
Well, I'm thinking particularly in the north or around Glacier Peak.
And I'm thinking of also this happened to us on the John Muir Trail.
Okay, fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It happens every time we go on a long backpacking trip.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's because the weather can't be perfect the whole time.
Wow.
Anyway.
Amazing.
High five.
So we finally did get out, like Carrie said, and it wasn't that bad. And so we kind of tag team. So Carrie went to... Did you just say this already?
Well, I think that I just said that it was going to be annoying if it rained on us, so I did
gotcha.
it. So then I went and I dug the cat holes for everybody. I dug the third one just in case there was,
a visitor. And then I made the dinner, and then we reconvened, and we just like ate and standing because we didn't want to sit on the wet ground.
As fast as we could.
We had our soup again, and guess what? Even though we just had it 2 nights before, still very tasty. And then we like speed brushed our teeth. Put everything in the bear can, use the bathroom one last time, and then into the tent we go, and it was like 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, so a nice early stopping point for time to go to bed about the same time that we always go to bed. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Two Sisters on Adventures podcast. If you like what you heard here, you can go to our Facebook or our Instagram page, which is Two Sisters on Adventures, where you can see photos and videos of the things that we talked about today. Bye.
Bye.